leave off last Wednesday when I was on the
You weren't
airplane
here last week. So last week.
I know, right. So good evening, everyone. I'm Leslie Hocker. This is Debbie Lowry. We have a room full of people here who are here for week number 5, I think it is, in new notary training. Week number 4, new notary training. Where did we leave off last week, Deb?
So last week, just to recap, we looked at true copy statements. We we briefly touched on what an apostille is, because everybody heard the word and wanted to know what it was. And then we took a tour of the Great Seal of Michigan website, so everybody knows where to find, how to look up their commission information, where to find the handbook, everything that's out there. We navigated to it, as well as to the legislature.michigan.mi.gov's website, where you can find Milona. So we're all up to speed on that front.
Love it. Thank you so much. And if you missed it like I did, go to YouTube, Detroit Deb 1718. And you can see all of these. They're being recorded. Now, I did have a special request from Valerie McCall. If we can cover a journal. Was it you, Val, who asked me that? Are you I don't know why I can't hear you, but
yeah, we can't hear you.
Was it you who asked me? Okay, it was you. Okay, so let's talk about a journal. So I want to pull out my journal. I have a journal that's used that I'm going to pull out here. This is actually my favorite journal. Okay, so let's start off with Michigan does not require journal. Michigan does not require anything. It's all very fly by night. I am going to not require you to have a funeral because a journal, nobody can require you to have it if the law doesn't say it. I am going to say that if you want to cover your butt, you should have a journal. It is best practice to have a journal, to make sure that if somebody calls you to court, you can have proof that you were with that person, or that you went to this house. If you write jurat in there. Now, I've had a couple people who have said you might get called to court. A couple people have told me that their relatives are challenging the power of attorney or the quitclaim deed or whatever. That's fine. Once they find out how much it costs to go to court, they don't usually do it. Not that that matters. As soon as I got that call, I opened my journal to the page where they signed and I made notes. I don't know if it's this journal or not. I have a few, but a couple things about it. The NNA they have journals. I believe they're all hardcover, which really looks official. It's really not. It's not that good. Okay, so this book, I'm going to leave it back far enough so nobody can see it. Each side, look how it turns back. It turns back to the back so that I don't have to have all of this exposed to every person. Each of these pages has 6. There are 6 places for me to go on here. Now, Michigan doesn't require journals, so why do I need to write exactly what document they're putting in there? So some journals list all of the documents and you check off each of the documents that you did. I've never had to do that because here's what I put. Power of attorney, a deed, a HELOC, estate planning, POA, estate plan, lottery. Somebody won the lottery. I forgot about that guy. He won the lottery and needed something. I think he had a check that he was unable to cash or never got to. It doesn't really matter. You put what type of document it is in there. So this one has a place for the date. That's assuming today's date. And it also has the type of notarization. You have 2 choices, acknowledgement or jurat, right? I put A or J. It's easy. Then they want the date of the document, because the document can be dated whatever it is. Your notarization is always dated the day you do the notarization. Okay. And then they want the type of document. So if I do estate plan, I know that it's all of the things that encompass an estate plan. So if I end up in court and they say, is this your signature? Yes, it is, because I know I did that estate plan. Okay. Then they want the individual's name and address. They want their signature, and then they want the type of identification or the witness's name and signature. So the state does say if you keep a journal, there's a few things. If you keep a journal, it needs to be one journal for all of your notarial acts. You can't keep one for loan signing and one for general notary work. It's got to be all in the same one. If you do remote online notarizations, that's a separate journal online, but you still have to write it in this journal because it's still a notarial act in sequential order. Is that the right word, Deb?
Yes.
Okay. And then, so you can't skip pages. You can't screw anything up. So I don't really want to show this to you, but here's my thing. 99% of the ID that I get is Michigan driver's license. Okay. So if it's anything other than a Michigan driver's license, and I know the sequence, it's the first letter of the last name, unless it's newer and they got married within the last 20 years, then it's the first letter of the maiden name, which is fine. Mine doesn't start with H, mine starts with C. And I got married in 2011. So I don't know when they actually made that change, but mine didn't change. My whole driver's license is the same driver's license number as it was prior to getting remarried. So anything other than that, I will write what it is. And I don't even have, like, I'll write passport. I'll write that number in there, or I will write whatever other state it is, and write that in there. I have a note in here because this is the one from last February. And I have a note that says, I did take their information and it didn't close on one of them, but somewhere in here it says, right here, 2/11/22, I broke my right wrist, used left hand to write because I want it in here. And then wherever it is back here, probably somewhere at the end of March or April, when I started writing in with my right hand again, I made another note that I have actually a sticky note in here. They also have a note in here that says, the niece called to say that the lady wasn't competent and her daughter is stealing the house. It's totally not what happened. But it's okay.
But it will jog your memory if you ever had to go to court. So that's the purpose of writing those notes.
Exactly. And I put that niece's name in here. And then I put notes. So I put the niece's name in here, the date that she called. So I signed that on April 6th of 2022. And on April 18th is when the niece called to say that the signer wasn't competent and the daughter's stealing the house. So first of all, the signer didn't sign it over to her daughter. She signed it over to her sister's daughter. And I put a note in here that I asked the signer, do you know who I am? Why I'm here? What you're signing? She said it's a quick claim deed. I asked her who it was she was signing it over to. She said she was signing it over to her niece so she can sell the house to help pay for her living expenses. So yeah, I did my job. And it's all in there. So when I remember talking to this niece who called and said, yeah, they're trying to steal the house. And I told her that, I asked all these questions and she said, oh yeah, you did it right. I'm a notary too. And I was like, okay, whatever, lady. So am I. And I did my job correctly. So that's why you want to keep a journal, because I can literally take this book with me and have that done. Now, I will tell you that while I had while my hand was broken, my personal assistant went with me and she wrote the information down after I checked everything. And then I initialed in here so that I knew that it was Jenny who did it. Sadly, that person can't go to court now because she passed away. So That's the gist on a journal. Did you have any specific questions, Val? Anything I didn't answer?
I'm going to pull up I have a blank. I have the blank. So, people really couldn't see yours, but
Yeah, I don't want them because it was filled in.
Yeah.
So,
all right. So I'm going to just show,
Val, what was your question? We can't hear you, Val. See, that's the one I don't like that. All this compliance agreement, correction agreement.
You know what? It's the only journal I've ever had. It works for me, and there are a ton of different notaries or a ton of different journals out there.
Lots
so
of them.
You just find the one that works for you.
Absolutely.
Leslie doesn't like mine. I may not like hers, but
I mean, here's the thing: compliance agreement in any loan package, there's 4 of them. Are you marking that 4 times? A correction agreement. Oh, I'm sorry. There's 2 compliance and 2 correction in every refinance. There's a deed of trust. There's just a deed on its own, E&O. This, I don't want to read all that. I'll just write down what it is. And now, does this spread across an additional page or no?
Yep. There's a second page, and the second page, let's see. I just moved it. Can you see it, or do I need to reshare?
No.
All right, hold on. I'll reshare.
Michigan doesn't have anything about thumbprints at all. They don't talk about it. They don't address it. You can do it if you want to. I personally don't want to. Okay, so then we're over there. Identity established by satisfactory evidence, personal known, yes, credible witnesses. So if you have to use credible witnesses, you should put that down in your journal who it is too, so that you can make sure
it's right there,
that you remember who that is. Yep, credible witnesses. The NNA journal is nice. What I don't like, is it, Beulah, is it a hardcover or is it a soft cover?
Soft cover.
It is. Okay, good. All right. Yeah, I mean, whatever it is, you're gonna get used to it. And the point is to make sure you cover your butt when you are when you're notarizing. So the state doesn't tell us to, but we want to make sure to do it. Yeah, Joanne, what's your question?
I really like the integrity journal. It's really nice.
Mm-hmm.
And it has big enough lines for you to complete the information.
Yeah.
Just in case the people don't write well.
Yep. The one that I use has big enough lines. I did pick up a different one because that one was out of stock one time. Plus this one's like $13 and the other ones are like $6. So I was being cheap and I shouldn't have been because I really don't like the other journal. So, but that's okay. Val, did you have any other questions about it that we want to answer? For some reason, your audio is not working. Do you want to type it into the chat? Yeah. Yeah. We're going to wait 1 second for her to type it into the chat. She can hold it up and point to it. It's like playing Jeopardy. We're waiting for the answer. Come on, Val. Okay, holding it up. I can't, you're on mute, but you can't. Oh, wow, that's big open spaces, isn't it? All right, let me change my view so I can see you. Yeah, we're still not hearing you. That is a big open space over there.
Or you can try dialing in on your phone, Val, so we can get your audio.
It doesn't have where to put what type it is, but I write in the information. Okay, yeah, that's a good idea. You definitely want to. And here's a thing about if you are always writing, if it was acknowledgement or jurat, you can almost always know that you absolutely did issue an oath. Beulah likes that hers has a privacy guard. I have never had an issue with anybody trying to see anything else. And this comes back to something that it came up in one of the groups yesterday, that somebody signed, the woman was doing the notarization, and the signer started filling out the notarial block. Okay. Both of these, needing a privacy guard and the notarial block, somebody writing in it. I just want to say that if you are in control, if you are watching what's happening, neither one of those things will happen. No one will write in your notarial block, and no one will look through your journal. I literally put the journal in front of people with my pen pointing to where they need to sign, and they sign. Some people will look all around, and I will point to it again and say, sign right here. Be in control. You are the professional. No one has ever tried to look through my book. I need this for the state. Plus, there is nothing in my LONA about keeping anybody's information safe in your journal. And I've asked in other states where journals are required, and they say nobody ever looks, or they say there's nothing in their state laws about keeping privacy for who signed. What are they seeing? A name, address, phone number. It is all.
Could be driver's license, Leslie. So, I mean, this is the age of massive identity fraud. So I am going to disagree with you on that.
We do this every time, and I get that.
And our job is supposed to be integrity, and we need to keep our clients' information secure, plain and simple.
Which is why you stay in control and do not let them have that book without you sitting right there with it.
So however you need to do that, just cover the information if that's what you choose to do. If you do what works best for you, everybody on this call, to protect your clients.
Yes. And the way I do it is I stay in control. No one takes my book across the room. No one takes my book to the other side of the table. I am sitting right there with my book 100% of the time. And if you are in control, the same thing with the papers. You're not handing the paper to somebody and walking away. You're handing it to them. You're staying there. Your job is to watch them sign, not hand it around the room and let everybody sign it. Now, there were times during COVID when it was out of the way, but that's when flags were used. Okay, there was always flags on there. So you do have to protect their integrity. You do have to protect their information. But if anybody has your book long enough to write down any information or take a picture of it, shame on you. That should not be happening. That is you not doing your job properly. I doubt that has happened, but there's been no case law on a notary's journal being compromised while the notary is in the room. There has been journals were stolen, and that's how it got compromised, but not from a notary sitting there. So again, keep it with you, be in charge. Don't let them write in your notary block. That blew my mind that anybody had it long enough to be filling that in. Where as soon as it starts with that state of Michigan, county of whatever, that's you. And so I just say, find your name on the page. That's where you need to be signing. I usually only have to say it once after I point to them and tell them where to sign in. Okay. So let's move on. And we did the true copy statement. We did the government website. I just want to make sure we've covered everything we wanted to cover. And then, so how do you guys feel about taking a test? Okay, I just want to get some information. I just want some feedback here. If you feel you know the information, a test shouldn't bother you, correct? And if we just kind of put out questions and let you answer them, would you guys turn on your microphones and answer questions so that you know the answers? I mean, the test, it's not like you're not being graded on it, but it's just to measure how much you're absorbing after coming to this class so many times. Okay. So these are things that are kind of important. How do you feel about that?
Fine.
Okay, good. I like it. So if everybody who can, and I know a couple people are at work just listening in, if everybody who can, turn on your cameras and turn on your microphones so that we can have some participation in this, and I'll give everybody a minute to find that button.
I got my mic on, just to let you know.
Thanks, Terry.
Okay.
I appreciate you. I know Value, yours isn't working, so you're excused. Megan, Cecilia, Joanne,
Oh,
Leah.
I have my, excuse
There
me,
you
I
go.
have my mic on.
Awesome. Thank
Awesome.
you. Awesome.
I have my mic on.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, so Deb, do we want to put them up on the screen, or do we want to just, oh, look, Val's coming back. She can do it now.
No, you could just read them.
Okay, do you want to just read them?
I don't have it pulled up. So
Oh,
if you
I have
them
it right
handy-
here. Do you want me to do it?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay, so let's start with the very basics. What is the name of the public act that governs Michigan notaries?
I can't hear you, Angela.
Is it Milona?
It is. Yay!
Good job.
You know, okay, so we're going to go through these questions, but it's not like to make you feel bad, but these are things. No, okay, so we're going to go through these questions, but it's not like.
Okay. Keep
Did you
going.
mute her?
I did.
Val,
We know we can hear her now.
Yeah. Hey, Val, we have a little bit of feedback, so we muted you, okay? And I'm going to take you off the other one just because I think that might be feedback. I'm going to actually remove your one that isn't working. Okay. Oh, geez, it comes up report to Zoom. No. We want her. We just want one. We're good. Okay. Define jurat.
You have to submit an oath.
How do you submit an oath?
Raise your hand and recite the
Go on,
oath
Leah.
to them.
Go ahead.
You have to raise the right hand and then recite the oath back to you. They'll have to repeat what you say. The oath.
Okay, close. That
And
is the first part.
they have to say
ahead, Bree.
yes verbally.
Yes, they have to verbally acknowledge. They can just say yes. They
Got
don't have
it.
to repeat the whole thing back. Yeah.
Okay.
It is kind of fun to watch people not know what to say. They'll nod their head and we're like, we need to kind of hear something. So yeah. All right. Define acknowledgement.
An acknowledgement
saying-
that they're acknowledging that the document is true.
Okay. Not really.
No,
Anyway,
it's the signature.
yeah. Yeah.
That is their signature on the document,
Right.
and they
What's
weren't
the-
forced to do it.
Good. What is the difference between a jurat and an acknowledgement? I can't even say the word.
The
So the
jurat, they
jurat-
have to swear, right? Swear to God with their right hand, and acknowledgement means that they are acknowledging that they are signing.
Right. Okay. Does somebody want to take the lead and describe, as if the person gave you a handwritten letter and they need it notarized, how would you demonstrate that, which one they need to use? Who wants to tell me that? Nobody.
You have to,
Well, you would ask them.
You have to
You have
ask
to ask
them.
them. Yep.
You give them the,
You have to ask them. Yep.
you give them the, you give them the choice of either swearing to a higher being that it's true, or
Go ahead,
Or
Terry. They'll still
that
have it.
their that is their signature on the document. Or, I mean, yeah,
Okay.
but
Kind
they
of.
have to make the choice.
Yes, they have to make the choice. So does anybody want to role play handing that out, doing that whole thing? You just came, I called you and I said, hey, I need this letter that I owe Debbie $760. I need it notarized. Can you notarize it for me? Who wants to demonstrate how that goes? Nobody. Debbie, do you want to?
Well, the letter is for me, so I can't notarize.
All right.
But
All
okay,
right. It was my cousin Debbie. It was my cousin Debbie, not you. You just
Okay.
want the money. You're not getting it.
I know, right? I did like stop listening when I heard $760.
Money. Yes.
All right, so you've called me, you've asked me to, can I notarize the document? And well, my first question is, do you have current valid ID? You know, I asked the general meeting questions, but when we're in person, face to face, I look at the document. I need to see if there's a notarial block on there, if the notarial wording isn't there. I would say, okay, so I need to attach a loose certificate because there's specific wording that needs to be included when I notarize a document. Your handwritten letter doesn't have that. I have two options. I have a jurat, which I will give you an oath, and then you would swear that the document, that the statements that you're making in this document are true, and that you're making them of your own free will. Or I can attach a certificate that just states that I acknowledge watching you sign this document. Which would you prefer? And
Very
then
good.
they would have to tell me. And a lot of times
Yes.
they'll say, it doesn't matter. I'm like, you know, I usually have them both and I go pick one and let them pick one.
But it does. Okay, so a couple things that I heard out there was higher power. That's not necessary. And some people, I have had people tell me, I don't believe in God. So I looked in my Lona and it doesn't say I have to say that. And other people have said I don't swear. So I had to change that word too. So mine is, do you attest that the contents of the document are true and you're signing of your own free will? And the signing of your own free will is actually not part of what the state says we have to say. It's just that they're declaring that the contents are true under oath. Oath, raising your right hand shows the oath. In the title offices, when they're teaching their title closers how to close loans, they don't teach them how to do an oath. So if you know of a title officer who's getting out of that business and wants to do general notary work, they need this class because they don't know how to notarize. And I was teaching notaries, and a title office asked me to teach their notaries how to close loans, and they didn't know how to notarize a document. And I didn't take them to the level that they wanted them because they don't know as much as we do. They do not know how to issue an oath. They don't know when to use a jurat or an acknowledgement. They don't know any of those things because all they know how to do is close a loan. I talked to a girl today who has been notarizing for just at work for about 3 years. And her boss will walk by, give her a stack of documents that he has already signed. She signs and stamps them, and that's considered notarized. And it's not. All of those are illegal. You have to be in the presence of the signer, and he will just drop them on her desk and walk on. And now she's nervous to tell him that now that she knows that the way he's been doing it is wrong, she's afraid she's going to lose her job. So, again, what doesn't go to court doesn't get caught. And so it's up to you if you want to do things right or wrong. And that's what I told her. But if anybody contests it, she loses her commission. If it causes any financial harm, she could be responsible for that. So you've got to make sure that you know the law. You have to make sure you know how to do things right. All right, let's move on. What is the most that notaries can charge per notarization in Michigan?
$10.
Hey!
Everybody should get that one. All right, what's the least? I'll throw it back at you. What's the least?
0.
There we go. All right.
You can do it for free.
You
Yes.
can absolutely do it for free.
Absolutely. Do we notarize signatures or do we notarize documents?
Signatures.
Yes. Yes. What are the elements that make a complete notarial block? It's on your stamp.
You mean,
What does it
okay,
Your name.
your name.
Your
Mhm.
name, the
Your
expiration date, and
county.
county.
The date your commission expires, and acting in the county of whatever county your feet are planted in.
Yeah, yeah. And when you're filling out that notarial certificate, if it's pre-printed with the wrong information, how do we handle that?
Cross it out and
Cross
initial.
it out.
Fix it and initial.
One line through,
Wow.
correct it, initial the line through. They need to be able to still read what was there, so don't scribble through it, okay? What if you stamp it upside down?
X it out and put a line through it and stamp next to it.
X initial stamp, restamp, correct, very good. So your stamp should say your name as it's commissioned. Then it should say on the next line, Notary Public, State of Michigan, County of whatever county you live in that you are commissioned in. If you move counties, do you have to get a new stamp?
No.
Yes, you
Oh,
do.
you do?
Yes, you do. If you move, you have to change your address with the state and you need a new stamp to reflect where you live.
So my stamp doesn't have the county. I have to write it in.
Oh, that's sad. It doesn't have the county at all, the county where you're commissioned?
No, it has a line. It just has a line for me to write it in.
Is that after acting in or is that after?
It says, no, it just says acting in. It doesn't
Honey,
have.
get a new stamp. They're cheap. $30, get a new stamp. That's a
Yeah,
pain.
I'll
You only,
send you a picture. I keep it at work, so I'll send you a picture up to make sure I'm right because I
Yeah.
can't pull it from me right now.
right, yeah. Yeah, I would just buy a new stamp. There's no reason to write that in every time. It's the same thing every time.
Yeah, I literally
Mine
write it.
is-
Well, because I think so. What I've been doing because it was left blank. So, for example, if I was when I was started being a notary, I worked out in Berkeley, but I live in Westland, so that's Oakland County. So I would write in Oakland because my feet were in Oakland when I did the notarization.
That's the acting in part of your stamp though. So you're commissioned for where you live.
Okay.
So it should say Deanne Lowry or whatever you have it. Notary Public, State of Michigan, County of where you live. My commission expires whenever it expires, your birthday in however many years. And then it should say acting in the county of with a blank. That's the only thing you should have to fill in on your stamp.
I don't think that's. I'll double check.
Yeah.
I have actually a question for all of you. So because my name is spelled different, so it's my birth certificate is DE capital AN. My driver's license is DE-AN because they do not do lower and uppercase. So my notary stuff, the guy, when I first got my notary stuff, he made me get DE-AN because it matches my driver's license. I don't sign anything. My signature is not with the hyphen. I don't sign it that way. Should I because of this case, or just my signature is my signature and be okay with it?
You could sign it with just the letter D, Lowry, if that's what they have on file on your commission. You can file a change form. If you're not doing it this way, but whatever you have on your commission application and the latest change form is how you need to be signing it. Because if you go to court or it gets apostilled and it doesn't match, they're going to reject it. So we
the
don't
only
want it
difference
rejected.
is a hyphen. And that's what he made me put on there because of my driver's license.
Yeah.
So I'll just start adding a hyphen when I notarize. This sounds like it's the most logical, easy thing to do.
My commission is my first name, middle name, and last name. And I literally only ever sign those 3 words when I do my commission because they did the same thing to me. They sent it to me with all 3 names. I did not ask for it that way, but that's the way it came in. And so I did that, like, whatever. Then I know it's a notarization. If it's all 3 names, I'm notarizing. So
it's just adding a dash. It's not the end of the world, but I was just.
Well, if your name is a scribble, it doesn't really matter. But if you can read all the letters, it does.
Yeah. All right. Well,
so let's talk about how you fix that since we're talking about how it was incorrect or it's not the way that you want it, there is a change form. If you were on
Okay.
last week's call,
I
watch
was
last
not.
week's video. Okay, I'll put the link to, I'll see if I have the link to the change form, but it's a change form. You would just fill that in and send it back to the state. You have to watch the website because to see if it gets updated, when it gets updated, because they're never gonna, I don't think they email you when you make a change, do they, Leslie? You don't
No,
get an
you don't
email.
get anything back.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
Yeah, it's a constant.
And that's on the NNA.
no.
It
we
is
use
on the
Michigan-
state.
Michigan.gov
Gotcha. Okay.
website as much as possible because it's more up to date than the NNA is.
Gotcha.
Okay, so
Thank
what
you.
else? Well, Debbie's pulling that up. What else are you allowed to charge for in Michigan?
Travel fees.
Right. And how do you go about putting that together?
The standard fee and then telling them, discuss the travel fee in advance.
Yes, it has to be pre-agreed on. And again, you can't charge for your time on top of that. You should be able to charge for tangible things like you printed the documents for them, or you are going to the post office to drop it off for them. Those things, you can add a nominal fee for that. But listen, if you are getting into notarizing to get rich, this is not the job for that. You can make a nice income if you put the work into it to get the leads, to get the jobs, but you're not going to get it. You're not going to get rich. And if you try, you're going to get yourself in some trouble by trying to get too much money out of people. It's going to come back to bite you.
Val, we're gonna leave you on mute, okay? Because you got feedback. Sorry.
Okay, yeah, sorry, Val. All right. What define lineal descendants? We can't notarize for family, right? We know
Or
this.
ascendants or descendants.
There's both, right. So we can't notarize for family. And by family, they mean lineal ancestor and lineal descendant. Does anybody know? Can you tell me who a lineal ancestor might be?
Would it be aunt or grandma,
Yep.
uncle?
And who are lineal descendants?
Mom, dad, sister, brother.
Those could actually be part of our lineal ancestors. The only lineal descendants on that string are our siblings who are younger than us. So we really can't. Okay, so
Your
lineal
aunts aren't your
ancestor-
lineal. Your aunts aren't
they're in
lineal.
the direct line, correct? They're in the direct line. So your parents, your grandparents, your siblings, all of your in-laws, whether it's your side of the family or your spouse's side of the family, your children, your grandchildren, your step brother, step sister, step mom, step dad, and anybody who is signing something that you can benefit from. I actually notarized for a lady yesterday. Her daughters were there and the lady told me she used to be a notary. And her daughter said, yeah, it was really convenient. Whenever we needed anything notarized, we just went to mom. I said, well, that's illegal and always has been. And she goes, well, it was a long time ago.
I was there for that. She said 30 years.
30 years, right. Yeah. So it was, I mean, they didn't get caught. That's the thing. If you don't get caught, it doesn't matter. Val, notaries charge for time coming to a hospital and notarizing and parking. That has to be pre-approved for that. They're not allowed to, you cannot charge for time. You can charge for travel. You can charge for parking if you have to pay to park. You can say, I'm gonna have to pay to park. I need to recoup that expense and let them know that. But this is what we're trying to avoid, is people charging when they're not supposed to. It's sad that people will take advantage of situations. If you're in the hospital, there are a lot of people who will go to the hospital and notarize for free. They'll go to the senior living facilities and notarize for free because they have compassion. They have a heart. I'm trying to make a living. I'm not doing it free, but I'm not overcharging either. So those people who are overcharging, shame on them. And again, as long as you're not getting caught, I guess it's okay, right? Let's talk about the notary seal and the signature, and how they can be the same thing in some instances, right? So sometimes it says to place your seal on here, and that's where your signature goes, because the two terms in some people's minds are interchangeable. So know that the full notarial act requires your signature, all those words that we talked about a few minutes ago, and the date. It doesn't, in Michigan, you do not have to use a stamp. Loan documents, they will require you to use a stamp. It is best practice to use a stamp. And if documents are leaving the state other than loan documents, you'll want to use an embosser. So like adoption papers almost always need to be embossed. Financial papers almost always need to be embossed if they are leaving the state. So I get a lot of people calling, asking me to notarize for their pension. And a lot of them are, a notary cannot perform a notarial act for a direct lineal ancestor or descendant. Right. Okay. So in the chat there, it does, Debbie copied and pasted what it says in there, for the ancestors. If it's a financial form and it's leaving the state, I always emboss it. If you don't have an embosser, it is a good investment to have, because the one time you're going to need it, you're not going to have it, and they're going to need it, and it's going to come back. It's not going to go through. I just posted the other day on our page that the law office that I do a lot of work for has asked me to start embossing the financial power of attorney, because somebody in some banks down in Florida have decided that they want that embossed. It is a financial document, and maybe that's why they do it, but Michigan does not have that requirement, and neither does Florida. It's just this one bank who's saying, yeah, can't do it. So now I have to sign, stamp, and emboss that financial power of attorney. True or false? Your notarial block must include a date.
False. Well, only your expiration date, right?
Hey, Jackson.
Right.
Incorrect.
Could you redo the list?
No, the notarial block has to include the date that you are notarizing it.
Okay, thank you.
So it's signature, date, stamp, or all the information that's on the stamp. Signature, date, stamp, or all the information that's on it. It does have to include the date.
I knew that. I was thinking the block being the stamp. I'm never mind.
You were testing me.
I was testing you.
Is really wrong. I'm feeling my stamp is really lacking right now. I can't wait to send it to you tomorrow.
Yeah, I can't wait to see it. We'll see. Okay. A notary public can perform acts that include but are not limited to the following: taking acknowledgements, giving oaths and affirmations, witnessing or attesting to a signature, A and B, or all of the above.
All of the above.
All of the above.
Good job. You guys just know that's always the answer when you do. There's all of the above. That's always the answer. Okay. If you're notarizing a jurat, does the signer have to appear before you and sign in your presence?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. How do you know if it's an acknowledgement or a jurat in a pre-printed notary block?
The wording. Subscribed and sworn is usually a key.
Yep, good. How else? What if it doesn't say that?
Acknowledgement. I think acknowledgement is in the block. It was an acknowledgement.
Yeah. Yes, it will say attest, affirm, swear, something like that. If it has those words, it's gonna be an oath up there. Okay. Is there any circumstance where you can notarize a document without the signer being present?
No.
No.
Yes.
There is. Tell me what it is.
Isn't there one where someone can attest that it is like they were a witness to the signature, but the person couldn't I'm new. But I thought there was one where someone could sign. Oh no, I'm sorry. I'm thinking of someone was if they didn't have identification.
They don't have their ID.
That's what I was thinking of. Sorry.
Yeah, I let you talk you through that. You talked yourself through it to the right answer.
That's what it was.
The signer always has to be in front of you. However, if they already signed it and they went, oh shoot, this has got to be notarized, and they call you afterwards and it's an acknowledgement, not a jurat, if you don't have to issue an oath, you can go ahead and verify that that's their signature and go ahead and notarize that. Now that's only happened to me one time. Luckily it was an acknowledgement, but I would have just had him re-sign it. Okay, sign above, sign below. He's going to sign my book anyway. I'm going to see it. So I'll know it's his signature. So you see it on the license, you see it in the book, you see it on the page. You're pretty sure that's it. But if it's a jurat, they would have to sign again before me and have an oath, take an oath.
So there is one other time is
Oh.
when a power of attorney, someone is signing on behalf of as a power of attorney. So the person whose name is on the paper isn't necessarily the person that's signing. Someone else is signing on their behalf as power of attorney or attorney in fact.
But that power of attorney does need to be in front of
They
you.
will be there signing, correct?
Yes, yes. So the signer themselves, whether it's power of attorney or not, has to be there. But the power of attorney is also the signer. Very good. That's a good.
So if they have to do the second signature, if you're asking them to do another signature, do you cross out the first one and have them do another one, or you just have them
Yeah,
sign
I leave
again
them
as long
both.
as you see it?
I leave them both.
Okay.
Yeah. Can a signer sign an acknowledgement prior? We just did this one. Never mind. We talked about 2 and 1. What forms of ID can you use to identify a signer?
Driver's
Driver's license, passport.
Everybody talked at the same time. I got driver's license. What else?
I heard passport,
Passport.
Michigan ID.
Michigan ID. Yep.
state ID. In Michigan, you can also use university student IDs from U of M, Wayne State, and state of Michigan.
Michigan State.
Michigan State. Yeah, thank you.
Also, you can use
Military
military
ID.
ID.
Yep.
And tribal ID. Yes. Okay.
So you can't use just any college ID with a picture?
No.
Nope,
can only
just those
be
3.
state
You can
colleges?
kind of remember it's those 3. If you remember when you voted, you're voting for Board of
Oh.
Regents.
That's right.
Yeah, yeah. All right. What method can be used when a signer doesn't have a current valid identification?
None.
Credible witness.
A credible witness, somebody
There
that
we
you know
go.
that knows them.
There you go.
Very good. None,
I
you're
already
done.
answered that.
There is also another way too, and I think they call it a receipt, Deb, is that what it is? If they
Yeah,
have
so-
renewed their driver's license, right? Go ahead.
Yeah, when you go to renew your driver's license, they cut the corner off and they staple that paper. Let's say you lost your driver's license, so they don't have your old ID or your expired ID to staple the paper to. They have that paper that is issued by the state. That is what they call a receipt. You can use that as well.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay. True or false? You can stamp over words on a page, making some words illegible.
False.
Very
False.
good. So Debbie and I were digging through the law the other day. And one of the things that has always bothered me is that in the middle of the big white space there, they write seal, which is obviously where they want us to stamp. But we were told we can't stamp over any words in a document, right? Except there's a little bit of a, what do I call it, technicality. You can't type over words in the document. It doesn't say anything about, or you can't stamp over words in the document. It doesn't say you can't stamp over the word seal in the notarial block. So just so you know. Because the words of the document have to be legible. They don't have to read the word seal, right? They already know what that is. Okay, which of the following are best practices? Keeping a journal, using a stamp, using black ink, or all of the above?
All of the above.
above.
Journal and stamp, you should use blue ink.
Thank you. Yes, most places want blue ink. Now, there had been a law in Michigan for a very long time that we had to use black ink, but that was gone. I think 2014, they got rid of that law. There are a couple loan signing services that don't understand that yet. So they still
For
insist on it.
general notary work, you're probably using black ink. So
I
carry blue and black pens.
Yeah, I use black, but on general, if they don't use blue, it doesn't bother me. I just let it go. I do kind of draw the line at pink or purple. Blue or black, please. Let's just keep it even here. Why? No. Can you use an embosser by itself
No.
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 in
Why?
place of a stamp?
Why? Why can't you?
Because it needs your signature.
It doesn't
Correct.
contain all the wording that's needed for notarial block.
Anybody else?
My stuff might sounds like it's pretty weak anyway, so
This might be your one. Come on,
I'm
Dan.
just-
I like that
I'm
you're
just
trying.
stamp it, emboss it, sign it. All in
Anybody
black ink.
else? Why can't you use your embosser by itself?
Mine does not have the where I'm acting, and mine just has my expiration date and my name and state of Michigan. That's all it has on it.
Most of
Yeah.
them just have that.
That's not it.
And well,
That's not really why.
Is it because it doesn't, like if you have to send it, make copies, it doesn't come through clear?
You got it. It has to be reproducible. It's got to be reproducible.
Mhm.
Good
There you
job,
go.
Angela. Good
Good
job.
job,
Good
Angela.
job.
You win.
I'm
Woo!
trying.
Oh my gosh. True or false, your signature needs to match the signature on your notary application for commission as notary public to the state.
yes.
True.
Yeah.
True.
True or false, you must read my Lona before you start notarizing.
You should.
Smart thing to do.
Can I just tell you that it is actually law that you
Okay.
do that? It is on page 5 of the law. It's buried, but it's in there that says you have to do it. Let me read it to you. It says, it is statute. Is that a statute? I don't even know. 55.283, obtaining and reading state statutes. Section 23, before a notary public performs any notarial act, the notary public shall obtain and read a copy of all the current statutes of this state that regulate notarial acts. It's actually a law that you have to do that. How many people have done that? Go ahead,
I've read
raise
it
your hands.
once. But I have another question.
Okay.
Was it Monday that you should actually get a copy? It was on something that I saw. They were talking about the laws. You should get a current copy, because it changed. Something may change.
Yep, there was one. What was the date, Deb? Mine.
It was rendered on Friday the 13th. January 13th was the last one.
Yep, January 13th. You know, it's really a good idea to download it and update yourself. Like, don't go into a hole and hide once you become a notary, because things change. So being involved in a network of notaries is really a good idea because somebody will know it changed. Somebody will challenge that change, I guarantee you. But somebody will know it, they'll let you know. And you just have to like pick up new best practices and just so that you know that you're always on the right side of the law, because you don't know when somebody is going to decide to take you to court. Okay. When you're notarizing a document, what is the venue? Is it the city where the signer lives? Is it the city and state where the notary lives? Or is it the actual state and city where the notarization is taking place?
It's the actual city and state where the notarization is taking place.
Good job, Joanne. Yay. Okay. Assuming you are in the presence of the signer is physically unable to hold a pen, how do you proceed with the notarization?
With X.
Keep going.
I don't know. I thought it was just with the X.
Do you do anything? So Joanne, have you done one with an X?
No, I have not, but I read it somewhere in a document.
Okay, good. I'm glad you haven't because you didn't miss anything then. Okay, does anybody know?
Is that when you have to still have a credible witness?
No.
To verify the person's identity?
That's if they don't have any ID. But there are a lot of people who can still, they're very cognitive. So you always want to check to make sure they know who you are, who they are, who the people in the room are. I found that it doesn't do any good to ask people who are retired what the date is because they never know. Like I didn't know the date all day today and I wrote it 400 times. So the date doesn't do a lot of good. I found that asking who the president is causes some major turmoil. So I don't ask that anymore either. So I will say, hey, I'm Leslie, I'm your notary. Do you know why I'm here? And if they can tell me why I'm there and tell me what they're signing. So they'll say, yeah, you're here to notarize some papers. Cool. Do you know what you're signing today? Yes, I'm signing my power of attorney. Who are you signing power of attorney to? Signing it to my daughter. Who is your daughter? Is she here? Yes, she's right there. Okay, great. Now I know I can proceed. Okay. But if I get there and they can't answer any of those questions or even one or two of them, I might not proceed with that. Okay. If they aren't sure, or if somebody is answering for them, have the person turn around, have the person leave the room. They need to answer. And I have had to do this. I need you to let her answer, because you do run into people who want to be the ones to answer the questions for everybody. Like, take it easy on my mom. She's having a hard day. I'll answer for her kind of thing. Unfortunately, that's not allowed. But I also have worked with people whose hands are like this because they're next to death, but are very sharp up here. Yeah. So if they can't sign, this is the procedure. First of all, make sure they know what they're signing. Second, tell them if you can't sign, it's okay. If you can just make a mark on the page, that's all I need you to do. By law, I can sign for you. Okay. And they will either agree or disagree, because sometimes they still want to write their name. And it's just one more thing they can't do. And that's fine. I will sit with them for 10 minutes if that's what it takes to write their name. Let them write their name. Keep their pride. Keep their dignity. I will sit there with them for that. I will hold on to the paper. I will hold it still. I'll hold I keep a clipboard and I'll hold it as however it needs to be held. And then they can make, so if they just make a mark, this is what you do. You sign their name exactly the way it is written under the line. So if it is D.N. Lowry with a D.E. capital A.N., you do it like that. Then you write signature affixed in pursuant to Article 33 of the Michigan Law of Notarial Acts. Okay. I've had to do that enough times that I bought a stamp. And I don't have to write that anymore. So I sign their name, I stamp it, and then I notarize. And every time they make a mark, I sign their name, I stamp it, I notarize it. And that is how you do signature by mark. Okay. The state of Michigan doesn't require a journal. However, doing so is best practice. True or false?
True.
Okay. you, the notary, get a call for a notarization and the signer asks you to bring a power of attorney document so they can have their father sign it. How do you handle this situation?
They need to see an attorney.
They got to produce their own document.
Yes, we cannot provide documents. We can, however, if they have prepared the document and they want to email it to you so you can print it to take it to them, you can do that. You cannot do anything, fill out anything on a document ever. The only place on a document that you are allowed to write is in your notarial block. So when you get to a healthcare power of attorney, they have choices to make. Like, this is, I want, I don't want artificial respiration, or I do. I want this to take place now, or I don't want it to take place until the doctor says I can't. So there's different things that they need to answer. You can ask those questions and tell them how to sign it. You can only read what is there exactly. You can't interpret it. You can't say, oh, honey, it's okay if you mark right here. It doesn't take place until the doctor says you can't. You can't say that. You have to just read what's there. We can state facts, but we can't put any emotion into it. Okay. The stating the facts means you're reading directly what's there. Okay. And if they don't have it then you can't notarize it. And I know, like, it's really hard because you want to be able to help everybody. I help people by referring them to an attorney. That, I think, is the wisest thing to do, because then you're off the hook. They're asking you the question because they can't afford an attorney, but they also can't afford not to have an attorney. But you can't afford to lose your commission simply because you feel bad for them not being able to afford an attorney. Okay. So at that point, it becomes about you. We already did that one. When do you need to order a new stamp? What are
When
the,
it's inadequate like mine.
when you
When
did
it's
it
hard
wrong
to
to begin
see.
with? No, I'm kidding.
Right.
Go on.
When it expires, before it expires.
When it expires. Well, yeah. Unfortunately, you're probably going to have a week in between. Because you can't, how do they do that? So your commission doesn't renew. You have to actually request a new commission. And you can only do that 60 days prior to your commission expiring. And they're not going to do it like in 10 days. Like, I don't know how that works at that end of it, but I know people who are waiting for their commission to be recommissioned. And they've been without a commission stamp for 4 years or 4 months. I'm sorry. So they're still waiting. It's very sad. It's horrible.
Why that long, I wonder?
Because I think it got lost. I don't know. If you change your name, you need to get a new stamp. It's always got to match what is sent in. So if you are no longer Deanne Lowry, are you two related, by the way? I'm just asking. I'm kidding. If you are no longer Deanne Lowry and let's say you got married or divorced, you changed your name and it's a legal change, you can't use your illegal commission anymore. You have to change it. Along with, if you move whenever you move, you need to let the state know. But if you move to a different county, you have to get a new stamp. You have to get recommissioned in the new county. And that's as easy as a change form for that. So we are just about out of time. I just want to go through what you can expect in the next couple weeks. So we are going to start, we're going to go through electronic and remote notarizations, and we're also going to go through notary conduct, because those two things are just like what we've covered, like how to notarize and the nitty gritty of it. The conduct is really super important. That it's going to cover like laws and how doing it wrong affects you. And then the electronic and remote is so intense that you really need a whole separate class for that. And Debbie's going to be leading most of that class because she does way more than I do. And so I'm just going to sit in the background for those. But does anybody have any questions that they have tonight before we go?
Nope.
Nope. Okay. All right.
So this will be again next Wednesday?
Every single Wednesday evening, every single Monday morning, at 9 a.m. on Monday mornings, we meet here. It's a different Zoom link, but it's on that same picture. And then every Wednesday evening, we moved it to Wednesday evenings. It had been in the morning, but we can catch more people this way. And education is just too important to pass up. So we want to be there. So thank you all for joining us. And we will see you again on Monday morning. Have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Thanks, bye.
Bye.